Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Applied Software Great Tech Group. You're invited to join our conversation to model the future of construction innovation and the digital transformation adventure of this great industry. My guest today is Charlotte Garrett, Head of Industry Strategy at KOPE. She's a qualified architect with extensive experience in the offsite sector, having led on design, managed complex multidisciplinary teams, and advised on the delivery of numerous projects across the UK. Welcome to the show, Charlotte.
Hey, great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to kind of get started with how you got into the industry to begin with.
Sure. Yeah, I actually it was by accident. I kind of left university having qualified as an architect. I spent just 12 months as let's say, a traditional practicing architect. Unfortunately, got made redundant here in the UK. It wasn't a particularly good time. And went out looking for work and just came across this volumetric house builder looking for an architect and a design manager. So I applied for the job, and the rest is history. Yeah, real passion for offsite construction.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the fellow happy accident people coming in. I'm one as well too. I did not think I would fall into the construction realm when I graduated college, but here I am, and I love it.
Yeah,
What do you see as some of the most exciting developments on the horizon when it comes to offsite and industrialized construction?
yeah. I think there are probably two or three innovations I think that probably stand out for me. I think design automation is really taking off. I think more and more kind of design-led businesses like architects and engineers are developing their own internal automated workflows, using scripts and plugins to kind of help streamline some of their processes. Yeah, and I think we're seeing a lot more product platforms and kits of parts, and they're kind of offering that standardization in design to kind of enable scalability for offsite construction. But also kind of allowing that flexibility that we seek as well for kind of unique projects. And I think these two things together are really going to be game changing. I think connecting kind of projects and products through those kind of design automations. I think data standards is another huge one. I think it's critical in providing a common language across our industry, particularly integrating across different companies, different project teams. And we hear about digital twin quite a lot. I think that's and that's really data at its core, and being able to make sure that transfer of information, ensuring the right information is fed into the design workflow at the right time, and it's carried through into operation, and so clients have that right data. So I think that just helps bring different parts of the construction value chain together, and enabling design to focus on that constructability. And I think one last one, very briefly, probably cloud computing. I think that's really also going to be something that's really going to take off, and really kind of shifting those data silos to like cloud-based environments where it really helps kind of integrate people and information around our project. So three. Yeah, I think those are the kind of spaces that are just going to keep growing. I think we have a lot of trouble with like recording and management of data on our products. It's still pretty analog, I would say. I think, the one where we need to go with that is we need to. I think that that cloud-based environments are really going to help digitize that information around products. I think that's really going to help us.
Yeah, nice. And then on the common language, I believe that was your second point that you mentioned there. Uh, how do we move forward more on making that kind of the standard? What I see a lot in the industry is very disjointed communication and language that uh, people are kind of talking about the same thing, but they're using different acronyms, different words, and so there's a total misalignment and kind of speaking over one another without even realizing it, which causes a bunch of frustration. How do you any ideas on how to uh, kind of help create that standardization across the different stakeholders so that we're all using the same acronym, soup language, and everything like that?
Yeah, it's not easy. And I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight either, but we do need industry bodies, government policy to help push that. Here in the UK, we've got a number of British standards being developed to help bring that standardization across and get people's buy-in. Obviously, we've got a number of industry people involved in that. So we at KOPE, we're involved in one of those standards, so helping to try and standardize how we describe different offsite technologies, what information we should show about those products. Wouldn't it be great if we, had all of our suppliers and all of our designers kind of speak in the same language? It would kind of make that connection with products and projects really seamless and really quick and easy. And it would make validation and all of those kind of processes much, much better.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's one of the biggest things that people need to be mindful about and just give a pause. If you hear a term and you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why are they doing that? Maybe stop and ask, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
That's okay to ask that question. One of the big trends is really the convergence coming in and kind of the blurring of the lines of industries between construction and manufacturing. What are you seeing there of what that convergence really looks like?
Yeah, I think kind of starting, trying to remember these numbers off the top of my head, but I think it's something like $130 trillion of investment is expected to be spent in the upcoming years. And I think designers and engineers are under a lot of pressure to do all that design work for that future infrastructure. And so I think, we believe that one of the keys to unlocking these efficiencies is adopting a product platform approach. And I think that's definitely gaining a lot more traction here in the UK. So instead of reinventing that design wheel for each project, it's aiming to reuse standardized kit of parts essentially in that design process and configuring them and assembling them in various ways to create those unique buildings, but trying to standardize maybe the spaces and the building elements a little bit more. And that really allows us to kind of reuse them, learn from the projects, and we can really start to refine our processes, which obviously aligns really well to kind of lean manufacturing. But I think that the trends that we're seeing is it's not just about that kit of parts that we design with. It's about enabling the translation to kit of products. So kind of going back to that digital twin buzzword, what we want to be careful about is not describing those static digital BIM objects that the internet's full of them. We've done it's commendable, how far we've come in the last 10 years, and a lot of people have bought into developing their BIM objects around their products. But we believe that, to truly define a product that is manufactured and part of a kind of productized supply chain, we need a little bit more than that. Designers tend to download them, break them, because it's not quite doing what they want it to do in their design process. So immediately, as soon as they're downloaded, the suppliers have lost control over how their product has entered the market. And so what we're doing at KOPE is we're not storing geometry around products. We're actually storing and embedding a rule book that's codified, and that essentially dictates how a product can and cannot be configured when we're integrating it into our projects. Because buildings don't end up being built exactly how we model them. We elements are always these monolithic elements. Let's take a wall, for example. Usually it has a depth, it has a length, it has a height, and we might have some key metrics or bits of data around it, like fire performance and acoustic, we need it to meet. But what we don't really think about and consider is how that really is going to look once it's built. And we need to break down those elements into individual product components, and that might be wall panels, for example. And they need to be sized to suit manufacturing processes. And so to cope is digitizing the logic of those products and reading those monolithic walls in our design file and kind of seamlessly configuring them and translating those into products. So it's really about empowering both designers so that they can have the freedom of designing and making, but also allowing them to make informed decisions around the impact that a product might have when we break it down. And so it allows suppliers to control how their products are implemented into projects, but also it's just allowing designers to have the visibility of those capabilities and learning from them, understanding what design changes they might make to gain some efficiencies. So it's really about embedding logic and not just some geometry that we can push and pull.
I like the logic approach to it, and kind of reframing the conversation around that instead of the geometry, and kind of shifting your mind a bit. I think that makes a ton of sense. What aspects, kind of playing off of that, do you think maybe need to evolve in the construction industry as a whole for industrialized construction to really gain even more widespread adoption and shift really more fully to that product approach instead of focus just on the project?
Yeah, I think kind of one of the obstacles really, it's going back to that kind of analog format that we kind of touched on a little bit. So, technology has kind of really revolutionized a number of sectors like finance and the automotive, and construction's really kind of, we've made a really good start, but it's lagging behind. And I think the only way we're going to be able to meet the demand of our kind of essential infrastructure, like housing and hospitals, it is the digitalization of offsite manufacturing and that integration of products into projects and being able to automate that process and provide valuable data insights into the solution. But that does require substantial investment, and I think training as well. I think we need to upskill our young architects and engineers and product suppliers all coming through. But it's also about the culture and getting the workforce ready to adopt digital technologies as well.
Have you sensed a greater willingness to lean into technology over the last few years?
I think the kind of younger generations coming through, yeah, absolutely. I think it's looking really positive. It's that transition from our aging workforce into that kind of younger workforce coming through. It's about kind of extracting that knowledge and passing that over and being able to speak that common language, right? Because you're going to have a very kind of manual workforce trying to communicate with a very digital younger workforce, and trying to translate that language again is going to become really key. And I think that kind of aging workforce really needs to be involved in that kind of data standardization as well, because we need to learn from everything they've done. So it's really, really key to pull in kind of all corners of our industry in order to build that data standardization. I think it's all in that. It's all in the data standardization, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite concepts when we're talking about the different generations and learning from each other is it's called reverse mentoring. And so it's taking somebody that has had decades and decades of experience and pairing them with somebody that's fresh in their career, and they can teach each other different aspects of the younger person. This is stereotyping here, but the younger person can teach the technology aspect, and then the veteran can teach, hey, this is why we do it this way and why it has worked. And then they can figure out, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, knowing the historical stuff, but we could still find some improvement here. And, there's, you create that relationship aspect that makes the collaboration a whole lot easier, because they have that friendship kind of already kind of built into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there other kind of barriers that you see that maybe exist in the construction industry that need to be dismantled to help foster the collaboration and innovation?
I think, yeah, the biggest one is going to be data based again. We need to address the hesitancy, I think, to share data, because a lot of people want to protect their IP. And I think that data standardization plays a pivotal role in that. I think while protecting people's IP is really important, obviously people have invested a lot of money in developing their products. We need to determine what information is essential to, foster that collaboration. And through structured and standardized data, I think we can pinpoint what knowledge is needed and clarify what right information is shared at the right time in that kind of typical design matrix of decisions, in that kind of end-to-end workflow, without kind of compromising data integrity and, intellectual property. I think, data standardization really is a catalyst. It's about building an industry where ideas can flow freely within a kind of standardized framework. I think it's like a matrix, really, of decision making and picking what bits of information you need at the right time.
Yeah. Any advice on how to get the stakeholders to come in and work together to figure out what needs to go in the matrix and break down those barriers?
No, just keep trying. I think we just keep banging the drum. I think it's taken us years to kind of adopt BIM, like really fully as well as we are today. It's been decades, but we are getting there. People are listening. More and more people are kind of picking up standards. So I think, we just got to keep persistent, banging the drum. I think we've got, there's this really, really good book. You might have read it. It's called, what's it called? Sorry. It's all about, do you know what? It might even be called Bridging the Gap, weirdly. So you must know it.
Oh, I need to read it.
Yeah, I think it's innovators really kind of push the new thinking, and then you get some early adopters.
Is it The Chasm?
Crossing the Chasm. That's the
Chasm. Thank you. That's it. That's a great book.
Your innovators.
It's a great book.
Yeah, your early adopters, and then the majority will follow. And I think, we just got to find those real innovators and those early adopters. I think is the first challenge, and I do believe that the majority will then follow. And I think we've seen it with BIM. Whilst it was slow, hopefully this, now that we've got them through the kind of BIM process and got them on board with that, maybe this next phase hopefully won't take so long.
Yeah. Nice. My 4-year-old is banging at my door real quick. I'll be right back. Sorry. Sorry about that.
No worries at all.
He wanted to give me a really big leaf that he found.
Oh, that's so
which
sweet.
It is enormous. It's bigger than my face. So let's kind of shift over on the technology side. How should they think about developing out their tech stack? There's so many different options there. How do you think about this is going to be useful to me in my journey and what I'm trying to accomplish?
They really need to understand their processes first, I think. So KOPE started out as a consultancy. So we worked with businesses quite a lot, trying to kind of help integrate the right technologies into their businesses and help, improve their processes. Mm-hmm. You'd be amazed at how many times you speak to people and they don't really know what their process is internally. And we spend quite a lot of time helping define that actually with them, really kind of pulling out why they're making certain decisions at certain points in any process. And so it all starts with that. It starts with knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it on a day-to-day basis. And that's when you can then start to align it better with your tech stack and understanding what the right tools are to support with the right processes.
Yeah, I love that. More than agree.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's. It seems like it's something that would be very obvious and very well figured out in most companies, but it's surprisingly not in most companies. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, I don't know, you're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. I think
it's a common problem.
It's all in everyone's heads, and they're making a lot of these decisions kind of subconsciously, and not really questioning why they're making these certain decisions. And it's about extracting that out of people. And
the problem with it being in everybody's head is that what's in my head is going to be different than what's in your head.
Yeah.
And so if we're at the same company, that's going to cause a conflict in the long run, because we're going to be driving to different points. So having that well thought out and agreed upon for everybody in the company and written down is, you need that North Star guiding light.
Yeah.
So we got to meet a few weeks ago at Autodesk University, and any kind of takeaways from AU a few weeks out, and kind of maybe on the technology side or just kind of in general across AU?
Yeah, I thought it was my first AU. I thought it was a great conference. I really enjoyed myself, and I thought it was really interesting to see how all of these technologies are kind of integrating with all these other kind of software tools, and really kind of solving a lot of problems that we're seeing. That's really kind of it's great to see. It's great to see that people are really kind of stepping up and seeking to solve some of these challenges for people.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the cool trends is really the kind of going back to the convergence really of construction and manufacturing, is the kind of the integration between Revit and Inventor in the design and construction process. What do you see as the value there on that side of things?
It's hugely valuable, I think. Having spent some time working for volumetric manufacturers, it's really difficult because tools like Revit are designed to be very flexible in kind of studying and playing around with various different kind of design solutions. And it's really designed around a building level, talking about multiple stories and they're interlinking various different kind of disciplines, whereas Inventor is something that is highly detailed and it's maybe more focused on productized objects, like really getting into the kind of detail. And it would be very difficult to design a whole building, say, in Inventor. So it's about bridging that gap between that kind of lower level of detail in your kind of Revit environment into that real high fidelity modeling for a kind of fabrication level of detail. And it's about breaking the Revit model up into some components and products, and Inventor then taking those and kind of detailing them as their kind of constituent parts. And funny you should mention it, this is where we really see KOPE sitting. So KOPE's that bridge between the two, helping kind of break down those monolithic elements into sizable products and pushing that, kind of getting that into Inventor.
Yeah, very cool. Where do you see AI kind of playing in this space as well too? That was a huge part coming out of AU for sure, and just in general, AI is everywhere you look right now. How does it play into the future of construction?
Yeah, I'm no AI expert. We have many more intelligent people in our business who could probably delve into this a little bit deeper, but I don't think AI is going to replace us. I think it's going to be more of a collaborator. I think the industry has been a bit cautious about embracing AI, the construction industry, I mean. There are kind of innovative companies already using it and streamlining some processes, but I'm going to go back to the data sets. I think that's where the success of AI really lies, and that's really essential for kind of offering that accurate guidance that I think AI can offer. But, you know, building these data sets is the challenge that I've mentioned before, and that's kind of due to like, the variability across projects and teams and sites. And and I think it's not just about automation either. I think it's about, you know, transforming that decision making with those kind of data insights that AI could offer. So it's pushing in the right data and getting to get that valuable data back out and offer that collaborative work. Yeah,
all comes back to data.
It really does. Yeah, I think that's the correct.
It's huge.
Yeah,
absolutely. So as we start to land the plane here, what is modeling the future? What does that mean and really look like to you?
So it's, you know, innovation. I know that word's kind of thrown around quite a lot, but it's, you know, crucial to continuing the progress of our industry. We've made great movements. And I think it is all coming down to converging the industrialized construction approach, processes with digital technology. We really need to, we've got a lot to build. We need to automate all those kind of tedious processes, and put our brains to work in the more kind of valuable spaces.
Yeah. So funny that you used innovation as kind of the main defining thing there, because my next question was going to be, what does innovation mean to you? So any nuance to what you just laid out there for just the focus on innovation?
I think innovation is reflecting on previous work and defining, you know, maybe changes or improvements to kind of processes or techniques and methods in order to gain more value out of something. So it's all about progression, I would say.
Yeah, I like it. Well, how do people find out more information about you or KOPE and connect with you?
Sure. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to respond to any questions or maybe have a conversation with anyone. And also find KOPE. We've got a website, kope.ai. So please visit us there. Take a look at what we're doing. We've got some demo environments that we'd really like people to kind of engage with, understand our product a little bit more. So please reach out on the website or by LinkedIn.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, last question for you. If I could give you all power, you could snap your fingers and you could innovate one thing in construction, what would you pick to innovate?
That's that data framework for offsite construction.
It all comes back to data.
Have it solved.
I like it. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Well, Charlotte, thanks so much for taking the time and coming on the show.